Hey there, Spotswood family. Thank you for joining us for the virtual night of prayer for the month of September. Tonight, we've got people joining us from all over our city as individuals, as families, as connect groups, and we're all leaning in together for one singular purpose: to lift up our community partners in the great work they are doing to advance the kingdom and minister to the most vulnerable among us. You're going to hear this evening from the leaders of Imagine Life, Zoe Freedom Center, the Brisben Center, and the Fredericksburg Christian Health Center. After you hear from each of them, you're going to have the opportunity to pray for the next 5 minutes through some prayer prompts that we're going to put on the screen. After that, the next interview will begin. Thanks again for being here with us tonight. We believe in the weeks and months ahead, God is going to do powerful things as a result of the work that we do together tonight. Now I'll turn it over to Pastor Dakota and the leaders of Imagine Life.
Hey Spotswood, so I'm over here with some of the Imagine Life team, and we're going to hear from them about their story, about some of the things that they need both in prayer and practically that as a church we can partner with them. But I'd love for them to introduce themselves so that we know exactly who we're talking to and what we're going to get into today. So,
Yes, hi, I'm Christian Johnson, and I'm the CEO here at Imagine Life.
And I'm Stacy Brown. I'm the Director of Development at Imagine Life.
So I'd love if you could share with them kind of the background and the history of Imagine Life and Choices.
Absolutely. So back in 2012, we incorporated as the Fredericksburg Pregnancy Center. We're still the Fredericksburg Pregnancy Center. However, we obtained 2 separate DBAs, basically licenses to do business under 2 separate entities. The one that probably most of our Spotswood family is familiar with is the Choices Women's Center. That is the brand for the abortion vulnerable clients in our community. That brand was created back in 2017. In 2022, we added a second DBA that allows us to do business under the Imagine Life entity. So Imagine Life, that is the partner or the donor side of our ministry.
So Chris, you're the CEO of the whole thing, right? And with that, like, what does that actually look like for you, and kind of what has your journey been in that role, as well as how did you really get to that?
Long story short, I was conceived in rape on a college campus back in 1969. And if it hadn't been for my biological mother's, what I like to call uncommon courage, as well as a pregnancy help ministry, much like the one I'm in now, I wouldn't exist. We talk a lot in our ministry about the ripple effects from the choices that we make. And one of the ripple effects of the choice that my biological mother made for life was it gave the gift of adoption to my adoptive family. So they got to have a son and a little brother. Another ripple effect was my family today. They wouldn't exist. And many at Spotswood know my wife Amy, and our kids Robbie and Michaela, who grew up here at Spotswood. And it's kind of cool that both Michaela and I are both working in the pro-life ministry now. She works for a national pro-life organization.
So we love to be able to celebrate the things that God's doing and the wins and the stuff that we can look to God and say, you're praiseworthy because of this. And that might be areas of growth in a ministry or successes that we've seen. So I'd love if you could share with Spotswood, what are some of the areas of growth and success and stuff like that y'all have experienced in your area that we can maybe pray towards and just celebrate with you?
So as everybody knows, there's been significant changes to the pro-life and abortion landscape in our country over the last couple of years, most notably the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And it's really important that we as the church understand that while it seems or sounds like maybe that war has been won and is over, it's really not. That decision, all it did was push that back to the states. Mm-hmm. And sadly, Virginia is the only state in the mid-Atlantic southeast region that allows abortion all the way up to birth. And another challenge that we find ourselves facing is just the prevalence of the abortion pill. So all of these things, put together, despite those things, we are seeing more abortion-minded women than we ever have before. We had more changed minds than we ever had before. Last year, 184 women chose life.
That's awesome.
And so when you think about that, that's 184 women that won't have to live with the regret of abortion. 184 babies that got to take their first breath. So, that's 368 lives that were spared from the regret and violence of abortion.
Wow.
And what's so exciting about that for us is that we truly believe that every woman that walks through that door just simply deserves love and respect, and not to feel shame or judgment. With more women coming through the door, we're able to share the gospel more with them. We're able to show them true acceptance and love, and help them walk this journey and make the life-affirming choice. But it's getting them in the door. So it seems strange to celebrate the win of seeing more abortion vulnerable women, but that's more opportunities to share the gospel. That's more lives that are saved.
So those are all awesome things that we can praise God for, but I know that you've got some things that maybe are coming down the pipe that you haven't necessarily seen all the things that you want to see out of it yet. Could you share some of those things, like some initiatives maybe that you have coming in the future that we can pray about and pray over as y'all are heading there?
So 2 years ago, we started our fatherhood initiative, but we had to basically put it on hold because we didn't have the funding for it. But praise the Lord, He provided us an unexpected anonymous grant, this year to get that program back going. And as we all know, fatherhood matters. There's all kinds of statistics out there that show the results of the absence of fathers. Everything from academics to incarceration to drug use and so forth and so on. And so we got to seeing dads coming in, with the moms, and a lot of times they were just sitting out there in the lobby, goofing off on their phones. And, our mission is to empower those facing unplanned pregnancies with hope and life-affirming choices. But not just her, also him.
So a follow-up to that, do you anticipate that there will be a lot more opportunities to not only provide the care that's needed, but also to maybe connect those dads to gospel-oriented conversations and people that can help with that?
Yes. So everybody that comes through our doors, the moms and the dads, we attempt to have meaningful gospel conversations with them. We never force anything on them. We always ask for permission. Everything here is permission-based. But even something as not that it's simple, but prayer. We even have clients that say that they're atheists, and then when we ask, can we pray for you? Even most of them will say, yes. And so, yes, we have opportunities to speak truth and demonstrate the practical gospel to the dads as well.
Love that. So we've talked a lot about a lot of good things. We've talked about how people can be involved, but let's kind of come into some things that may be more challenging for Imagine Life and for your team and what y'all are doing. What are some obstacles that y'all are facing right now, or that maybe you even look forward and see that you might be facing in the future that we can be thinking about when we're praying for you guys?
Probably the biggest thing that's facing not just our pregnancy center, but all pregnancy help ministries is just the prevalence of the abortion pill. What used to constitute about 35% of abortions has grown to almost 60% of all abortions. And a lot of that is due to COVID and the FDA relaxing a lot of the restrictions or limitations on accessing the abortion pill. Sadly, in this day and age, the new abortion clinic is her mailbox. It is that easy to get the abortion pill. And so we have to continue to develop strategies and programs and services that enable us to engage with that abortion-minded, client.
With the abortion pill as well, it's also reaching the women that once they do take the pill, they don't have to complete the abortion. There's the ability to reverse it, and it's trying to find a way to reach them so that if they take that pill and there's that initial reaction of, I've messed up, I don't want to do this. I don't want to complete it. How can we reach those women that are in that place and let them know that there is a hope? There's a chance that we can reverse that abortion. So it's finding a way. That's another challenge that we have, is finding a way to reach those individuals and those women and offer them that hope.
Yeah, the success rate for abortion pill reversal is approximately 60%. And we're so thankful for Dr. Theron Steiner and the Fredericksburg Christian Health Center, who will provide medical services to women and clients of ours that have changed their mind after starting the abortion pill to attempt to reverse it.
Well, that's fascinating, because I didn't know that that was even something that could happen, that you could reverse that. And I think that most people probably don't even know that that is a possibility. So I think it's really important that we're letting Spotswood people know that, and other people as well, so that we can share, because that's probably one of the most powerful means of getting that message out to people, is just the common knowledge that if you did make a choice and you then realize, you can have a chance of correcting that. So that's really cool. I didn't know that, so thanks. So we've talked about a lot of things. We've covered a lot of ground, but now's the point where we get some really practical things that us as partners, Spotswood Baptist Church, can specifically pray. So what are a few things that we can pray for very specifically?
I think the first thing very specifically is us reaching the abortion vulnerable community out there, specifically to get them through the door so that we can help them make the life-affirming choice and have a gospel presentation with them. So specifically reaching the abortion vulnerable community. You've heard how hard it is with somebody who's taking the abortion pill, how we can reach these women. I'd say the second thing would be for our fatherhood program. We know that the father or the male role plays an instrumental part in the woman making the decision to keep the baby. So if we can get our fatherhood initiative off the ground, get the right staffing in here for that position and the right volunteers, we need some male mentors, volunteers for that. That would be another big area of prayer.
I would add to that just the resources. We've got the resources to sustain what we're currently doing. But in order to grow and expand the programs and services that we have to offer, we need more resources. And that word more, really what that means is more reached, more spared, more healed, and more transformed by the power of the gospel.
That's good. Well, thank you guys so much for spending the time to let us know what's been going on, how things are going, where you're hoping to go, and all of those things. And we're excited to be able to pray for y'all and alongside y'all in church. Next up, the prayer prompts are going to pop up on the screen for you to spend some time praying through. But what I want you to take attention to is there's going to be a fourth prompt on there that Chris and Stacy didn't actually say, and that's going to be the Imagine Life prayer mantra. This is something that them and their team pray all the time, consistently. It embodies what they're about and what their mission is about and what they want to see happen through the power of God in their ministry. So I would encourage you to please take that and the rest of the prompts with you and pray fervently and specifically and consistently for Imagine Life and their team and everything that they're doing.
Well, hey, Spotswood, Tyler Cooper here. I'm here today with one of my favorite people and the leader of one of my favorite nonprofits in our city, which is Zoe Freedom Center. This is Dana Brown.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. It's great to be here with you, and it's great to be in this new space, which is like 50 yards from our college building where the young adults meet every week.
Yes, we love it over here. It's been amazing.
I love it. I love having you guys so close. And I appreciate you sitting down with us to fill us in on what's going on with your organization and what God's up to and how we can engage with you, whether that's through prayer or something even a little more active. So many of us, I think we've been partnering with you for 3 or 4 years now. Many of us are aware of Zoe, but God's been drawing all kinds of new people to Spotswood lately, and there might be some that are listening, watching in right now that might not be aware. So could you get us up to speed maybe on who you are and what your role is here in our city?
My name is Dana Brown, and I am the founder, along with my husband, Mark Brown, of Zoe Freedom Center. And what we do, essentially in a nutshell, is we provide Christ-centered services, addiction services, free of charge to anyone in our community who needs help with addiction or who has a loved one in addiction. So that's kind of the brief version, but we do provide counseling, peer services, group services, and we will be opening a women's home within the next year to help women who may not have any other options but need a long-term place to be restored.
I don't know if you've seen the trend on social media that's like how it started, how it's going.
Yeah.
I'd love to get one of those for Zoe. So
Sure.
How did the organization begin, and how have things changed?
So it began out of a heart for people who are in addiction because I have 21 years free from addiction, and my husband's mother suffered with addiction for some time. And so together we had a couple of different perspectives, and God gave us a vision to start Zoe Freedom Center, to start providing Christ-centered services to people who otherwise wouldn't ever walk into a church. We are hopeful that they walk into these doors, and they have been. We actually opened our doors in 2020, March the 16th. Everything in the world closed down, right, and we opened our doors, and it was such a confusing time because I knew God had called us to do what we were doing, and I'm sitting at the desk the first day and saying, Lord, I'm going to just keep doing what you said to do and until you tell me to do something different. And people started pouring in the doors. Wow. And we have been able to help so many people over the last 4.5 years, which is amazing for me because it feels like just yesterday. But we started off with me meeting people in Starbucks, and now we have this wonderful office space over here next to you guys, yeah. And we're seeing people daily, and people are getting free. It's really amazing to see what God's doing through this vision.
I'm sure you're sitting on like a treasure trove of stories, and I do want to get to that. But you mentioned that things started for y'all right in the heart of COVID times, and so I wonder, from that time until now, can you paint a picture for us about how widespread is this problem of addiction and drug use and drug abuse? Has that gotten worse over the last 4 years?
Yes, it has gotten worse. We're losing the equivalent of a jet plane every day of individuals who die of overdose or fentanyl poisoning. That's upwards of 350 people every single day. And that's in our nation.
Nationwide.
That's in our nation. And you know, every time I go somewhere to a different city, people say our drug problem is so bad here. And it's really hard for us to understand that the drug problem is really bad everywhere. I just got an email today of someone who wanted me to give some help and some advice to someone in Canada. The drug problem in Canada is bad. And so that gives us an idea of, we started here in Fredericksburg. We have vision to go into other states and wherever God sends us. But the problem is really bad everywhere, and it's not really getting any better.
Is there a project or an initiative that's going on right now that has you especially excited?
Yes, our women's restorative care home. We are in the middle of renovations, and it's a beautiful 11-acre property with 2 houses on it.
I've seen it. It is a great space.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
And it's just another one of those God winks. This is like a million God winks. He is
God wink. I love that.
He has brought so many people and businesses alongside to help us with this house that we haven't even gone public with it yet. But everything that's happened over there in the renovations, for the most part, has been donated services, and it's amazing. We'll be able to serve 7 to 9 women in the main house, 2 women in the reentry home. We hope to have some sustainability programs for these women so they can build their resumes and begin to dream for what God has for their life and help them on this journey. A lot of times we think when we come out of addiction that our dream level is like down here. But in reality, with God, our dream level is through the roof. And we just want to help them know that, understand who God created them to be, and then help them on that journey to get where He wants them to go.
Realize that.
Yeah.
Well, it's super encouraging to hear what God is clearly up to. I believe, and I know we all believe, that we also have an enemy that's in the world, and where God is at work, He is at work. And so I'm curious, what are some of the obstacles that you're facing, some of the challenges that you guys face, and how are you guys dealing with those and staying encouraged in the face of that?
So I think some of the main obstacles, of course, is that we are a nonprofit, and we see it as obstacles, but we also see it as God's providence and His timing. But funding is always an issue with a nonprofit. That's one of the areas that we would love to see increase. Another obstacle, of course, is the urgency that we're seeing in the world with people who are overdosing and not making it afterwards, not having Narcan, not being able to be revived. Our heart is that everyone would have as many opportunities as they need this side of heaven to meet Jesus. Our goal is to introduce people to Jesus. And through that relationship with Jesus, that they would find freedom from addiction. But what we're seeing is that so many people are not getting to that point. And so everything happens as we can afford to make it happen. So the house will happen when we have the funds to open it. And it's happening through donations, and things are moving along. And I know God is equipping us. But that is probably our biggest obstacle, is funding. And then we also need people to just love on these ladies and love on these men that we serve here and treat them like they're not the leper outside the city gate, but that they belong in our community, and that we can help them find freedom and really find value, the value that Jesus died for. I mean, He died because they have value, because He loves them. And so we want to find people that can come alongside and love on our people like we do. And like Jesus does.
So practically, I'm wondering what that looks like. Like, for somebody that might be passionate about this cause, how do you convert that passion to action? What are some of the practical ways that people can get engaged? You might have mentioned one just now.
Yeah, I did. Through funding, through sponsoring people, or through just a monthly donation. But I know this is your prayer night, and prayer is key. It is key. It was key in my life. My sister prayed for me for years and years, and I really believe she and others at her church moved the heart of God for me and for others that they prayed for every week. So prayer is huge. Giving is huge. We need funds in order to operate. The more that we can bring in, the more people we can reach. We'll have more people that can be on staff to help serve people. Also volunteering. We have several opportunities throughout the year for people to really get involved. Small groups can get involved and volunteer together. Nice. And when we open the house, that's going to be huge. We'll have tons of other ways that people can get involved when we open that. And then also through raising awareness and participating in our events. We have 4 major events a year that we would love for the people at Spotswood to come and be involved in. Our next event is our Tough Golf Tournament. It's Tee Up for Freedom Golf Tournament. It's in October, and it's such a great time. This will be our 3rd annual golf tournament, and it's growing every year, and we would love to see people from Spotswood come out and have a good time. Awesome. So we have something for everybody. We really have some great opportunities for people who don't want to get dressed up and go to a gala. They can come to our Freedom 500 and race a go-kart.
There you
right?
go. Nice.
So we have some great opportunities for them to participate.
Okay. Well, Dana, it's been incredible to hear about the great ways that God has been showing up in your ministry, and then to hear how things have been progressing, what challenges you faced, and how we can get engaged, whether it's through an actively volunteering or by praying, which is what we're gathered to do tonight. All over our city, we've got groups and individuals that are leaning in together. And so I hope you've been encouraged as I have. And I'd love for us to spend some time, look at those prayer prompts that are on the screen, and let's lean in together and have some focused prayer for Zoe Freedom Center.
Hello, Spotswood family. My name's David Short, and I am here with a community treasure. His name is David Cooper, and he is the Chief Executive Officer of the Brisben Center. David, it's exciting for us to be here with you today. A lot of our children are going to remember the Brisben Center. Remember, folks, back at Vacation Bible School, our boys and girls gave around $4,400 in pennies, and it all went to the Brisben Center. David, can you provide just a brief history of the Brisben Center, how it got started, and what your role is?
Surely, let me first begin by saying thank you, Spotswood family, and especially those children of the VBS, Vacation Bible School. We're so grateful for your contribution to the Brisben Center and the children that we serve here. David, to speak just briefly about the Brisben Center, it started in 1988 with a vision cast by a little lady named Thurman Brisben. She envisioned a place where families of children and single adults could come and find respite, find space to breathe, to begin to rebuild, and to focus on the future so they could re-enter their community with the support of some wraparound services.
Where have you experienced growth and progress recently here at the Brisben Center, and what excites you about where we are now?
So my sense is God provides at just the nick of time. God is rarely early but never late. And so I'm so just delighted that I'm so surprised by the times when we think that things are becoming really close and tense and tight when God comes through.
Amen, amen. David, what is one initiative here at the center that you're just excited and passionate about? Kind of a new initiative.
I'd like for everyone to know that about 40% of the individuals here at the shelter now are children. And so we really have witnessed a number of children that continue to cycle through the system, coming back a second and third generation. So we really have a lot of energy, a lot of focus on how can we best serve the children in our community. With poverty rising from 14% to 18% in Fredericksburg, there's a lot of challenge, but also a lot of opportunity in our community. So we're delighted. I'm excited to see how the ministry to children, particularly school children in the school system, is evolving. I think it'd be important for everyone to know that currently there's about 1,070 school children across the whole planning district that are considered homeless by the Department of Education. If you just add a couple of caregivers or parents, suddenly the number approaches 3,000 homeless across our region. So we're delighted to have the opportunity and the resources to focus on those children in schools.
Certainly in a busy, active, large ministry like this, there has to be obstacles from time to time. Is that an understatement?
Sure.
What are some recent obstacles? How are you working to overcome those?
Well, as I said a moment ago, I trust God to provide in the times we really have needs. And so we could really use an additional case manager. We're fortunate to receive about half the funding for a case manager. The other half of the funding is about $35,000. So it's no insignificant sum of money. But we could employ a full-time case manager to work with children and to help them begin that trajectory toward ending homelessness generationally. My spiritual journal contains something that I wrote back in 1996. And it was my sense of God's message to me. What part of I provide for you do you not understand? And that's been the way it has been in my life, in places, in situations. I expect the same here at the Brisben Center, that God provides for the need in this community and to help us provide a hand up for success.
David, I want to drill down a little deeper. You're looking for a case manager to work specifically with homeless children. Yes. I have to believe that hundreds of people will watch this video. I believe in giving God a target to hit, okay? I want to pray along with you that God raises up funding, God raises up a person to spend a couple of minutes explaining what that person might be watching this video right now. Explain a little bit about maybe what that job description, what would this person do? What is that role, what do you envision that role looking like? That would be so enriching, that could change the trajectory of the life of a child for eternity. What do you see that role looking like?
Someone who loves children, who's willing to build relationships with the children here, to support them, encourage them, to work in some of the activities that we have here, everything from playing with them, reading with them, and importantly, discerning what some of their challenges are and how can we best address those challenges from a case management perspective, from a life skills coaching perspective. You know, our children here, they have been subjected to so many different places to live, and they've been towed around sometimes with parents in places. And so to help them realize this is a safe, nurturing place.
David, we believe as a church, we believe in the power of prayer. So what are just some very specific, David, give God a target to hit. I believe in that. I practice that in my own prayer life, and I believe it fervently. What are a handful of specific prayer needs for the Brisben Center?
Dear God, you know the need here. Our need is for a new case manager that focuses on children. And God, we trust you that you'll provide. That specific need is an additional $35,000 for this position. And that you, Lord, would raise up that person and make them aware of the need here and connect them with this opportunity. That is one specific prayer need. Other ones is our staff here has no particular health care provision. We provide a stipend to help them, and that's a prayer concern of mine since I've been here almost 7 years, that God would provide for the health care, for the needs that folks that work here have. An important one too is decent, affordable, accessible housing for folks who are transitioning from the Brisben Center into housing. The cost of housing here is so high, and we don't have public transit to get people to Caroline and King George counties where the cost of housing is lower. So how can we develop transportation? How might God provide for health care for our staff so that they can help these folks reenter the communities? And I think importantly, for the overall health and well-being of our staff and the volunteers that come here, staff have worked hard through COVID. They've worked hard through lots of adversity and challenges. Those folks that come here are here because they have a heart in this ministry. That's why they come. That's why they work here. We work here with limited resources, and we accomplish amazing results. Amen. Thanks be to God.
You know, David, I was just thinking about Matthew 25:40 this morning. Whatever you do for one of the least of these, you do for me. From the Spotswood family, we just want to say that we love you. We recognize and appreciate what you are doing for folks, and recognize that beyond that, you're doing it because you are a called man of God, and you have been obedient to God's calling on your life to come here, minister, and serve as the Chief Executive Officer of the Brisben Center. And from the Spotswood family, we just want to tell you that we love you and we appreciate you. And the way you are Jesus, literally, you and your staff are functioning as the hands and feet of Christ to the folks that are here at the Brisben Center. We just want to tell you that we love you and we appreciate you.
It's a real privilege for me to be meeting now with Dr. Steiner, who's the medical director of the Fredericksburg Christian Health Center. Believe it or not, one of their offices is now located on our campus. And so they're not just our partners, they're also our neighbors. And Dr. Steiner, I appreciate you taking a few minutes just to allow me to interview you and for you to share a little bit about the ministry with our church. I think a great place to start is just how did the Fredericksburg Christian Health Center come to be? What is its mission?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me. Appreciate it. So Fredericksburg Christian Health Center, we actually started about 22 years ago now with Dr. Tim Powell, who was a member of Spotswood before he moved down to North Carolina. But Tim had it in his heart, his vision was seeing that there's a large amount of uninsured patients in the community, and no one was really providing any care for them. The care that was available was much less than standard quality of care, and he had a heart to take care of those people. And so he just kind of started dreaming, talking to people about, hey, what could we do to provide affordable healthcare services for those who have no money, who have no access, and that was really kind of the start of Fredericksburg Christian Health Center. Our mission is to provide high quality care to those who can't afford it in the name of Jesus, and providing care to the body, mind, and spirit in order to bring healing about in all three. So we do provide high quality care. The idea is that the care that the uninsured receive is just as if you walk into the office and you're sitting in the same waiting room, you're treated the same way with respect. The medical care that you get is of the same quality, and I would argue higher quality than might be the standard in general for medical care in the community. And then we do treat body, mind, and spirit. We believe that all three of those are interconnected, and you need to be healthy in each of those areas to be healthy as a whole person. So that's our approach to patient care.
Well, full disclosure, Dr. Steiner is also my doctor. One of the ways you can support the ministry is by being a patient there and allowing your insurance to help subsidize the work there. So he is an incredibly good doctor, and I've been seeing him for a number of years. So I want to make sure I was upfront about that. So I've seen firsthand the great work that they do. But one of the things that excites me about what I'm hearing about the Fredericksburg Christian Health Center now is you guys have a vision of taking your work off your campus out into the community, and you've got some new initiatives, some things you have on the horizon you're looking at. So why don't you share some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So many of you may know in 2019, Virginia expanded our Medicaid program. So it really lowered the threshold of who could qualify for Medicaid, which in a lot of ways was great. So a lot of people who previously were uninsured now have health insurance through Medicaid. And with that, our board of directors, we really kind of stepped back and said, okay, this is great. You know, we're getting some more income. There's less patients without insurance in the community, but there's still a lot of people who have healthcare needs that are going unmet. And it kind of redefined for us who our service population was, who are the new least of these in the community. What does that look like? Who are those people that can't get health care, even if maybe they do have Medicaid, maybe they don't. And we realized that the immigrant and refugee populations were still very heavily getting overlooked. And the homeless population, people living on the streets or living in shelters, and through some of our other ministry partners, people like Mary Shelter and Beauty for Ashes and Empower House, Hope House, that even though the people getting these services or living in these shelters, Micah Ministries, that they're still not accessing the healthcare system for a variety of reasons. And a lot of it was because they can't get to us or they don't know how to get to us. And so we said, well, we need to bring the care to them. And so that's kind of where we see the ministry going now.
It really blesses my heart to know that you guys, though the landscape has changed medically, you've recognized the need is probably greater than it's ever been. It's just a little bit different how you're going to get to these folks, and you've been willing to, again, leave the office, go to where they are. And I'm sure people watching this, members of Spotswood and others who happen to come across this video, feel like I do, are burdened for the homeless population, or those who are an immigrant population who have these medical needs or aren't being addressed, and want to be part of what you're doing and want to support what you're doing. Some could become patients like me, be one way, or some may want to give, some may want to serve. What are some specific ways people can, and not just what they can do, but what's the next step for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are kind of in a process of refiguring out exactly what our services look like, and we're going through a consulting process right now to help us do that, because it does kind of change our workflow, change our volunteer need, our financial need, our staffing need. So if you are a physician or a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant, and this ministry is appealing to you, that would be our number one call, and whether to be employed or even volunteer with us. Also nurses, specifically RNs or LPNs, huge need on the volunteer side for those positions. We don't have all the staffing needs set right now, but I anticipate that we will be bringing on some more administrative staff to help with all of our program management as we're adding all these additional programs. I can't do it all. Been struggling to try to do it all for the last several years, myself and my office manager. So bringing on a position similar to like a operations coordinator or a development director, or those types of administrative positions. So again, if you're looking to join a ministry and you have some of those skill sets, or want to volunteer in some of those things, those would be big.
Okay, so if you're in the medical field, doctor, a physician, or a nurse, some part of the medical field, and you want to make a kingdom impact, it's a great way to do it, either full-time or just as a volunteer. I would encourage you to prayerfully consider that. If you know somebody in the field, get the word out to them. And then certainly administrative needs, something else for people to look at volunteering or being involved in some part-time fashion. So that's exciting. I guess obviously a very important way we can support you, besides financially or serving in those capacities, would be praying for the center. So we're going to do that tonight. In a minute, we're going to pause and allow people to pray specifically for these needs. So why don't you give us some few specific prayer needs we can pray for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I had mentioned that we're going through this process of kind of figuring out where the Lord is calling us in this new landscape, as we've kind of come out of COVID survival mode and we're ready to really go full steam ahead, serving the underserved in a different way. Wisdom. Pray for wisdom for us, because we are trying to discern, all right, how much care can we provide in the clinic? How much care can we provide outside the clinic? What are those staffing and volunteer needs to do that? Funding, when we're providing care outside the clinic, that's care that we are not charging for, and that changes our funding needs. And so just wisdom, who those staff members are that we need to bring on. And we're expanding our counseling services also. I didn't mention that, but that's another big program we started last year, is increasing our mental health services. In the process of hopefully hiring another counselor right now. So just praying for wisdom, that God brings us the right people, and just wisdom in all these decisions that need to be made for us going forward as we kind of shift the way we're doing things. Number two would be funding with all that also, because especially when we're bringing on some administrative staff or we're providing more unreimbursed care in the community, that definitely changes our funding model. And so wisdom for that, for either new donations and supporters to come in, or grants to help support what we're doing. But funding would be a big one. Staffing was the third. I mentioned that. And then the fourth one is perseverance, because we've been trying to do a lot with a little for quite a while. And we just need the Lord to give us strength. We cannot do this on our own. And I know everyone, and in healthcare, burnout is a big thing. You hear that thrown around a lot, especially in healthcare. And also in ministry, as you know, compassion fatigue, and you're caring for people, and we need the Lord to pour into us. We need the Lord to give us strength, because we can't do it on our own.
All right. Well, you've heard it. 4 specific ways you can pray for the Fredericksburg Christian Health Center: for wisdom, for staffing, for funding, and for perseverance in ministry. You're going to see in a moment those specific prayer needs or prompts on the screen. And we're just going to take a few minutes as a church family and pray for those needs. So if you would, let's join together in prayer about that.
Thank you, church family, for doing the work of praying on behalf of these incredible organizations and their leaders. You've heard from these leaders. You've heard of the great work and ministry that they're doing in your community. You've heard of the needs they have, and beyond that, you've heard about how maybe you and your family can get involved in serving with them. If you'd like to serve with any of these organizations, I encourage you to visit spotswood.org/lovefxbg. I want to encourage you, don't stop praying tonight. Continue to pray for these community partners in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you, and God bless. We love you, church.